Rain slaps the glass as Ava Morgan steps through the revolving door. Sleeves damp, breath steady. She wears plain work clothes, soft soles, a faded jacket, no jewelry, no badge, only a small canvas tote tucked under her arm. The lobby smells like lemon polish and money. The floor shines so bright you could fall into it. "Can I help you?" the young receptionist asks without looking up. Her nails are perfect. Her voice is thin and practiced, the kind that pushes people along. Ava answers softly. "Good morning." The receptionist flicks her eyes up, scans the jacket, the tote, the damp cuffs. A quick smile. More policy than warmth. "Facilities clock in downstairs," she says, pointing past the elevators, eyes already dropping back to her screen.
Ava pauses. Not long, just enough to feel the tiny weight of it. The way a person's story gets rewritten in a stranger's mouth. She nods. "Thank you." A courier brushes past, shoes squeaking. Two men in suits laugh at something on a phone. The security guard glances over and then away. Everyone is busy, and somehow that makes the moment louder. Ava stands near a tall plant, out of the stream of bodies. She takes in the room, the new art on the wall, the fresh orchids, the digital ticker sliding along with numbers that used to thrill her. She feels the building's pulse under the marble, a quiet thrum she knows like her own. A drop of rain slides from her hairline to her jaw. She wipes it away and smiles to herself. She lets the assumptions live a little longer. Let them breathe. Let them show their faces in the daylight. "Excuse me," the receptionist calls, just slightly sharper now. "Custodial is on sub-level 1. Maintenance door is to the right." Ava meets her eyes and nods again. "Appreciate it." She moves toward the elevators. One opens, full of chatter and coffee. A man elbows forward and stops himself from letting the doors close on her, then decides to let them anyway. The doors kiss shut. Another elevator dings. A woman rushes out, murmurs sorry, keeps going. Ava doesn't hurry. She tastes the metallic chill of the air. It is the taste of new coins and old habits. Phones buzz, heels click. Somewhere, someone is polishing a surface that will never stay clean for long. Near the maintenance door, a yellow mop bucket gleams like a warning sign. She touches its handle, not claiming it, not rejecting it, just feeling the cold metal against her fingers. Somewhere above, a meeting is starting on time. Somewhere above, her name sits on a wall she paid for. She breathes in. "All right," she whispers, to no one, and to everyone. "Let's see." Behind her, the receptionist laughs at a message. In the reflection of the glass, Ava watches herself straighten. Shoulders square, eyes calm. The rain outside eases. The shine on the floor holds. The day opens its mouth, ready to speak. Forward. The elevator doors part, and Ava steps out into a hallway that smells faintly of fresh paint and burnt coffee. Before she can take 3 steps, a man in a navy blazer comes briskly toward her, carrying a folder under one arm and a phone pressed to his ear. He doesn't look at her face, just at the plain jacket, tote bag, the damp cuffs. "You must be the new hire for janitorial," he says, lowering the phone without breaking stride. His voice is flat, clipped, like this is an errand. "Here." He thrusts a long-handled mop toward her, handle first, like passing off a burden. "Storage closets at the end. Spill in the boardroom. Please hurry." Ava takes the mop without a word. The weight of it is familiar, not because she's done this work here, but because she's done harder work in places far less kind. Her fingers curl around the wooden shaft, slow and deliberate. The man is already walking away, speaking back into his phone. "Yeah, she's on it," he says. "No thank you." No glance over his shoulder. From the corner of her eye, Ava catches movement. 2 employees leaning against a doorway, watching. One smirks, barely trying to hide it. The other looks down quickly, but the pity in her eyes lands just as sharp. Across the hall, someone lingers near the copier pretending to stack papers while taking in the scene. No one steps forward. No one corrects him. Ava shifts the mop upright, letting the handle rest lightly against her shoulder. She doesn't move toward the closet. She studies their faces instead, each one marked in her memory, their expressions filed away with precision. A printer hums in the distance. Phones ring. The hallway seems to narrow, the sounds muffled under the steady beat of her pulse. Better get to it.
One of the onlookers mutters, half to himself, half to the smirking coworker. They chuckle softly. Ava's gaze meets theirs. Not hard, not sharp, just long enough for the laughter to dry up. She turns toward the boardroom, not because she's following his order, but because she's tracing the path of this insult to its source. Her mind sharpens. Every detail slotting into place. The hallway temperature. The exact tone in his voice. The casual certainty that he knew who she was. Just by looking. The weight of the mop is nothing compared to the weight of the truth she's carrying. As she walks, the murmur of conversation behind her fades, replaced by the soft squeak of the mop head brushing against her leg. She knows now. This will not be a quiet visit. This will not be polite. She rounds the corner toward the boardroom door, her grip tightening slightly. A meeting hums on the other side. Somewhere inside, the real work is waiting to begin. The break room hums with the low, constant buzz of a vending machine, and the smell of burnt toast. Ava steps in quietly, leaning the mop against the wall near the door. A coffee pot gurgles its last drop into an already full carafe. No one looks up at first. At a small round table, 3 employees are mid-conversation. Their voices are low but not low enough. So they're just hiring anyone now? One says, stirring sugar into her cup. I mean, do they even do background checks? The man across from her laughs under his breath. Guess not. You see the new janitor? Looks like she just wandered in from the street. A third voice joins in, lighter, mocking. At least she's got a mop. That's something. They all chuckle. Ava doesn't move. She watches the steam rise from the coffee machine, lets the words pass through her like cold wind. I heard, the first one continues, they're pushing for more diverse hires. You know what that means? Her voice dips on the last phrase, like it's a secret and a punchline at the same time. The man smirks. Yeah, well, standards used to mean something. There's a scrape of a chair as a younger intern edges into the room, holding an empty mug. They glance at Ava, their eyes flickering with something. Maybe recognition, maybe just discomfort. The intern hesitates, caught between the table and the counter, then turns toward the coffee pot without a word. One of the women notices. Morning, she says to the intern. Sugary sweet. Then to her friends, bet the turnover's gonna be wild if they keep this up. The intern's shoulders tighten. They pour their coffee slowly, too slowly, as if stretching out the moment to avoid being pulled into the conversation. Ava lets her gaze sweep the room. Each face is etched into her memory. The smirk, the sideways glance, the little shrug as someone sips from a paper cup. She files them away with quiet precision. The hum of the vending machine fills the pause. Someone tears open a sugar packet. The man leans back in his chair, eyes flicking to the mop by the wall. Hey, he calls lightly toward Ava. Spill in the boardroom still waiting. Ava meets his eyes for half a second. Calm. Steady. Then she picks up the mop without a word. The intern steps aside as she passes, their gaze dropping to the floor. She can feel the apology in it, but also the fear, the kind that keeps mouths shut and heads down. In the hallway, the break room chatter fades behind her. She moves forward, each step quiet but deliberate. The weight of their words lingers, heavier than the mop in her hands, and she knows every one of them will matter before this day is done. The elevator doors slide open with a soft chime, and Ava steps inside, the mop balanced loosely in one hand. 2 men in tailored suits are already there, mid-conversation. One holds a leather folio, the other scrolls through something on his phone. They glance at her briefly. One polite nod, one flicker of indifference, then turn back to each other as the doors close. So the acquisition's moving forward, the man with the folio says. We just need to lock in the Singapore deal before the quarter ends. Logistics? The other asks. Handled. But the real hurdle is legal. If we can skirt the export restrictions, margins jump by 8 points. Ava stands in the corner, still and silent. The elevator hums as it climbs. Their words are crisp, confident, the kind that carry the weight of big numbers and bigger risks. She's heard this tone before. Doors half closed. Conversations meant for certain ears only. One of them glances her way again, then leans closer to his colleague. His voice drops, but not enough. We should wait until we're alone. The other man nods. Then without looking directly at her, he says, Would you mind stepping off at the next floor? We just need to talk freely. Ava's eyes rest on him for a fraction longer than comfort allows. She can see the faint shadow of stubble along his jaw, the way his cufflinks catch the light. She doesn't speak. The elevator dings, and the doors part onto a random floor. She steps out. They both give quick perfunctory smiles, the kind given to a stranger you've just dismissed. The doors close, sealing their voices inside again. The hallway she's in is empty, carpet muted, air still. She stands there a moment, the mop handle warm against her palm. The exclusion is so casual it almost feels like habit. Like asking her to step aside was as natural as pressing the button for the next floor. She imagines how many conversations have been cut short when someone like her stepped in. How many deals were whispered only between suits, behind walls, away from the people who clean the floors they walk on. The elevator hum fades. Ava turns toward the next set of buttons, presses the call panel. Another car arrives, empty this time. She steps inside alone. Her reflection in the mirrored panel is calm, composed, but inside she is taking notes of voices, of decisions, of the invisible lines drawn in hallways and elevators. The doors close, carrying her upward again. Somewhere above, those two executives are still talking, still trading information they'd never imagined she could understand. She doesn't need to hear the rest. She already knows enough. And she knows exactly how easy it is for people here to decide who belongs in the conversation and who doesn't. Ava steps out of the elevator into the lobby again, the mop balanced lightly in her grip. The air smells faintly of polish and rain, the distant chatter from upstairs fading behind her. Near the front doors, a security guard stands at his post, broad-shouldered, hands clasped in front of him. His dark blue uniform is crisp, the badge on his chest catching the soft overhead light. He looks up as she approaches. Just for a moment, their eyes meet. It's not the quick, dismissive glance she's been getting all morning. His gaze lingers, steady, reading her without a single question spoken aloud. There's no surprise there, no curiosity, just recognition. He doesn't speak. He doesn't have to. The corner of his mouth moves, not quite a smile, not quite a frown, just enough to tell her he understands exactly what's happening. And then in his eyes, something deeper. A quiet apology, one human to another. It's the kind of look born from years of watching the same scene repeat. Different faces. Same script. Ava slows her pace slightly, almost stopping. But she doesn't break stride. She gives him the smallest nod. An acknowledgement that she's heard what he didn't say. A woman in a red coat pushes through the glass doors, shaking off her umbrella. The guard greets her with a polite "good morning," the professional tone sliding neatly back into place. She barely nods before moving past him. Ava notices how his posture doesn't change, but his eyes track her for a moment longer before returning to the lobby. She wonders how many times he's seen it. A black woman or man mistaken for the help, brushed aside, spoken over, dismissed without thought. How many times he's watched, powerless to intervene without risking his own position. Her grip on the mop handle tightens. She feels the smooth grain of the wood under her palm, the faint tremor of her own pulse. She imagines the years he's stood here, watching the tides of people come and go. Executives in fine suits, visitors with rehearsed smiles, staff moving quickly and quietly so as not to be in the way. The hierarchy is visible in every step, every glance, every pause. And in his role, he sees all of it. Every slip of disrespect, every look that says less than, every word spoken like it weighs nothing. Ava walks past him toward the hallway. The moment between them lasts only seconds, but it stays with her. Not because of what happened, she's lived it before, but because of how clearly he carried it in his face. She turns the corner, the echo of his gaze following her like a shadow. The day isn't over, but she knows now she's not the only one who's been keeping count. Ava hears him before she sees him, the clipped, sharp voice cutting through the hallway like a blade. She follows the sound to a glass-walled conference room. Inside, the man in the navy blazer, the same one who shoved the mop into her hands, stands at the head of the table. He's leaning forward, one palm pressed flat, the other waving a spray bottle like evidence in a trial. Across from him, a woman in a pale blue cleaning uniform stares down at the table. "These aren't the approved supplies," he says, each word deliberate and loud enough to carry beyond the glass. "We have policies. Do you understand what that means?" Her hands tremble as she clasps them together. These were all that." "Excuses," he snaps, cutting her off. "You've been here long enough to know better. If you can't follow basic instructions, maybe this isn't the job for you. Ava watches the woman's throat work, swallowing whatever reply she wants to give. Behind her, a few employees pass in the hallway, slowing just enough to take in the scene before moving on. No one stops. The man tosses the spray bottle onto the table. The sound makes the woman flinch. This is simple, he continues. Use the wrong product. You damage the furniture. Damage costs money. That money comes out of someone's budget. He leans closer. Understand? Her nod is barely visible. Ava's jaw tightens. Her grip on the mop handle firms until the wood creaks under her hand. She's seen enough to know this isn't about cleaning supplies. This is about power, wielded like a club because no one dares take it away. The woman picks up the spray bottle, eyes still down, and moves toward the door. When she passes Ava, their eyes meet for a split second. There's a question there. Why are you here? And something else. A plea. Ava steps aside, letting her pass. The hallway feels smaller now, the air tighter. Inside the conference room, the man is already on his phone, laughing with whoever's on the other end. The shift is instant. Kindness for some, cruelty for others, dictated by nothing more than job titles and uniforms. Ava watches him for one more breath. The polished table between them gleams under the lights, as if it's immune to the ugliness it reflects. This is it. The mop in her hand feels like a prop she no longer needs. She leans it quietly against the wall, the faint tap of the wood against plaster barely audible. Her shoulders straighten. Today's charade is over, and she will decide exactly how it ends. The executive boardroom is on the top floor, behind double oak doors. Ava doesn't knock. She pushes them open and steps inside like she belongs there, because she does. The room is mid-discussion. Papers rustle, laptops glow, voices overlap. A half-circle of executives in tailored suits look up, startled. The rhythm of the meeting stumbles. "Can we help you?" one man asks, irritation flickering across his face. Another leans back in his chair, arms crossed, sizing her up. Ava doesn't answer. She walks to the far end of the table, her steps measured, her gaze steady. She reaches into her tote and pulls out a leather folder embossed with the company seal. That's when it happens. The smallest change. The ones closest to her see it first, their expressions shifting from annoyance to uncertainty. This isn't a folder you buy. It's issued. She lays it on the table, opens it slowly. Inside, documents, company bylaws, shareholder records, her name in print where it matters. The man nearest to her frowns. "Where did you get that?" Ava looks up, meeting his eyes without flinching. "From my office." Silence settles like a heavy cloth over the room. Someone clears their throat. Chairs creak. No one knows what to say yet. Across the table, the navy blazer manager from earlier freezes. His pen stills mid-scribble. The color drains from his face. "I'd like to finish your meeting," Ava says, her voice calm, level. "But first, I think introductions are in order." She closes the folder, keeping her hand on it like an anchor. "My name is Ava Morgan. I am the majority shareholder of this company. And as of this quarter, I am also your CEO." No one moves. The hum of the air conditioner feels suddenly loud. The irritation from moments ago is gone, replaced by something else: calculation. In the eyes of some, embarrassment. In others, fear. Ava lets the silence stretch. She knows the weight of this moment. She wants them to feel it. Her gaze finds the navy blazer. He can't hold it. His eyes drop to the table. "I walked in today without announcement," she says, "because I wanted to see my company the way others do. I've seen enough." Murmurs ripple along the table, hushed and uncertain. "This meeting," she says, "will continue, but it will not be the same." She takes the seat at the head of the table, folding her hands on the leather folder. Around her, they shift uncomfortably, waiting for what comes next. And Ava smiles, not kindly, not cruelly, but with the quiet certainty of someone who's about to change everything. Ava lets the silence settle until it feels like the walls themselves are listening. Then, without raising her voice, she says, "My name is Ava Morgan. I am the majority shareholder of this company, and I am your CEO." No one moves. The only sound is the faint hum of the air system above. Her gaze sweeps the table, steady and unhurried. "I own 61% of this corporation. Every division, every asset, every decision passes, directly or indirectly, through my approval." Some of you have worked under my leadership without even knowing it. That ends today. Across from her, the man in the navy blazer shifts in his chair. His face has gone the color of paper. He drops his eyes when hers meet his. Eva folds her hands, her voice calm, each word deliberate. This morning I walked in here to see the culture you've built when you think no one is watching. I've seen how people are treated based on uniforms, accents, and assumptions. I've heard the laughter. I've watched the silence. She leans forward just slightly. Effective immediately, this company will undergo a full internal audit of conduct, of hiring practices, of every policy that shapes how we work. If you are fostering discrimination, if you are protecting those who do, your position here is over. No one speaks. The weight of her words presses down on the room until even the shuffle of paper stops. This is not a warning, she says. It's a change in leadership, and it begins now. The quiet that follows is absolute, an unspoken knowledge that the next 15 minutes will ripple far beyond these walls. Eva sits back, letting the reckoning take root. By late afternoon, the first video is online, shot from the far end of the boardroom table. It catches the exact moment Eva lays down the leather folder, states her name, and claims the seat at the head. The audio is clear, every measured syllable of her introduction, every pause heavy with meaning. It's only 30 seconds long, but it hits like a match to dry grass. Within an hour, it's been reposted across platforms. The comments come fast. Chills. Absolute chills. The way they all went silent? Priceless. This is every mistaken for the janitor story I've ever heard. Except she owns the whole place. Mixed in with the outrage are personal confessions. Stories from women who've been talked over in meetings. From men who've been followed in their own office buildings. From workers whose skills were overlooked the second someone assumed they were support staff, and nothing more. The clip racks up views in the hundreds of thousands. Then millions. News outlets pick it up. The caption changes depending on who posts it. CEO goes undercover. Bias backfires in corporate boardroom. The calmest power move ever recorded. But the core of it stays the same. One woman, underestimated in her own company, revealing the truth without raising her voice. Eva doesn't post it herself. She doesn't need to. By the time she leaves the building that evening, the lobby security screens are pinging with news alerts. The guard from earlier gives her a small nod as she passes, his eyes warmer now. In homes and offices far beyond this city, people are watching that moment on repeat. Some are cheering, some are taking notes. Others are looking at their own workplaces and wondering what might be caught on camera tomorrow. The spark has been lit, and it's spreading fast. By morning, HR's small conference room is stacked with files. Ava's there before anyone else, sleeves rolled up, a legal pad open in front of her. She isn't here to make examples. She's here to make corrections. One by one, the cases are laid out. Each has documented incidents, recorded complaints ignored, repeated violations, slurs whispered in hallways, opportunities denied for reasons that crumble under scrutiny. Ava listens to the summaries, asks precise questions, and makes decisions without hesitation. When it's clear the behavior was willful and repeated, the outcome is final. Termination. No theatrics, just a signed document, a call to security, and a position closed. The manager in the navy blazer is among the first. His folder is thick. Word spreads quickly through the building. People pause in doorways, whisper in elevators. Some faces are pale with worry. Others are lit with quiet relief. The atmosphere shifts. What was once untouchable now feels suddenly fragile. Ava moves steadily through the list. No one is spared because of title or tenure. The message is unmistakable. Accountability is not negotiable here. By noon, a stack of signed terminations sits neatly at the edge of her desk. Outside, the staff moves differently. Slower in some corners, brisker in others. As if the entire building is adjusting to a new gravity. The balance of power has shifted, and everyone can feel it. The door clicks shut behind them, muting the hum of the outer office. 3 executives stand across from Ava's desk. Their postures stiff, faces carefully arranged in something between concern and defiance. One clears his throat. Ava, this morning's actions, maybe we move slower. Some of these are misunderstandings. Another chimes in quickly. People make mistakes. We've all said things we regret. If we start cutting people for every slip, Ava holds up a hand. The room's still. Misunderstandings, she says slowly, don't repeat themselves for years.
And they don't hide in policy language that disadvantages the same people, over and over. The tallest of the three leans forward. We're talking about livelihoods. Some of these people have families. Surely we can issue warnings instead. Her gaze fixes on him. They had livelihoods too, she says, nodding toward the outer office. The ones passed over for promotions they earned. The ones humiliated in front of peers. The ones told, without words, that they didn't belong. Silence stretches between them. Leadership, she continues, is defined by the culture it tolerates. You've tolerated this one long enough. I will not. The first man tries again. Softer now. It's a lot of change in one day. Yes, Ava says. And it should have been done years ago. No one argues after that. She lets the quiet press down until they shift uncomfortably, then gestures toward the door. Thank you for coming in. They leave without shaking her hand. When the latch clicks shut, Ava exhales. She knows there will be more pushback, more closed-door appeals, but she also knows the line has been drawn, and she will not step back over it. A light knock at the door breaks the rhythm of Ava's notes. She looks up. The young intern from the break room stands in the doorway, clutching a manila folder to their chest. Their voice wavers. Do you have a minute? Ava gestures to the chair across from her. Of course. They step inside, close the door gently, and sit. Their hands are pale around the edges of the folder. I don't know if this is the right way to do it, they say. But I couldn't keep it to myself. Ava leans forward, calm but attentive. Show me. The intern opens the folder and slides a stack of printed pages across the desk. Ava sees company email headers, internal chat transcripts, meeting notes. Highlighted lines jump off the page, jokes at the expense of certain employees, coded language about fit. Discussions of who belongs in client-facing roles. How did you get these? Ava asks quietly. Ava studies their face. Young but not naive. There's fear in their eyes. Yes, but also a flicker of resolve. You're right, Ava says. I will. They let out a shaky breath. I don't want to lose my job, but I also can't work somewhere that lets this happen. The intern's shoulders drop a little, tension easing. Ava closes the folder and rests her hand on top of it. This, she says, is proof. Not just of bias but of intent. It changes everything. The intern nods. Still nervous but steadier now. Thank you, Ava says. You've done more than most people twice your age would dare. They manage a small smile, stand and head for the door. When it clicks shut, Ava opens the folder again, reading each page with the precision of someone preparing for battle. The tide, she knows, has just shifted in her favor. The folder from the intern is only the beginning. By the next morning, Ava has access to HR's secure database. She sits alone in a quiet office, the glow of the monitor casting sharp light across her face. She starts with promotions. 5 years of records line up neatly until she looks closer. Patterns emerge like bruises under the skin. Men with shorter tenure leapfrogging over women who've been here twice as long. Pay raises clustered around a small, homogeneous circle. Job titles inflated for some, stagnant for others despite identical performance scores. She scrolls further. The discrepancies deepen. Every instance touching the same group, women of color, marked by lower percentages. Fewer opportunities, more needs improvementations. Her jaw tightens. Next, disciplinary actions. She filters by category. The results hit like cold water. Minor infractions, a late clock-in, a missed form, slapped with formal warnings when committed by women of color. The same infractions, committed by others, logged as verbal reminder or not recorded at all. The bias isn't subtle. It's systematic. Ava leans back, staring at the columns of numbers. She thinks of the faces from the hallways, the break room, the conference rooms. The ones who've stayed quiet because the system taught them it wasn't safe to speak. She prints the reports. The stack rows. Pages spilling onto the desk. Charts, timelines, pay scales all telling the same story. This is not the result of one bad manager. It's the architecture of the place itself. She highlights the data, marking patterns in yellow, red and green. The more she marks, the more undeniable it becomes. This isn't an accident. It's design. By the time she's done, the ledger in front of her is a map of inequity. Every number is a footprint. Every gap is a choice someone made and kept making for years. She gathers the stack into a clean, tight pile,
Her hand presses flat on top, as if sealing it. The next step is clear. This isn't just about rooting out offenders. It's about dismantling the system they've built to protect themselves. And she knows exactly where to start. The COO arrives late, as if his time is worth more than hers. He closes the door behind him, wearing a tailored suit and the easy smile of a man used to winning arguments. "You wanted to see me?" he says, settling into the chair opposite her without waiting for an invitation. Ava nods toward the desk. "I've been reviewing HR and payroll records." He leans back. "I'm sure you have. If this is about the terminations, I trust you know what you're doing. My only advice, don't get caught up in witch hunts. It's bad for morale." His tone is smooth. "Practice. This isn't a witch hunt," Ava says evenly. "It's an audit, and the numbers don't lie." He waves a hand. "Numbers can say whatever you want them to say. Context matters. We hire the best people for the job. If that means some departments have less diversity, that's not bias, it's business." Ava studies him for a long moment. "Business," she repeats. "Yes," he smiles again, a faint smirk curling the corner of his mouth. "You don't get results by lowering the bar." Without a word, Ava reaches for the stack of papers, the hidden ledger, and slides it across the table toward him. Pages fan out slightly, revealing highlighted patterns, red marks cutting through the text like warning flares. "Go ahead," she says. "Find me the context that explains why women of color here are paid less, promoted slower, and disciplined more harshly than anyone else." The smirk falters. He flips a page, then another, his fingers still. "These are cherry-picked," he tries. "But there's less certainty now." "They're complete records," Ava replies. 5 years' worth. "Signed off by you." His jaw works silently for a moment. The easy confidence drains from his face as the weight of the paper seems to grow heavier in his hands. "You built this," Ava says quietly, "and you've hidden behind it long enough." He doesn't meet her eyes. When he sets the papers down, the smirk is gone. What's left is something closer to calculation, and the faintest trace of fear. The press conference is called with less than 24 hours' notice. Still, by the time Ava steps up to the podium, the room is full, rows of reporters, cameras balanced on shoulders, microphones jutting forward like a field of metal flowers. Flashbulbs pop as she takes her place. She doesn't shuffle her notes. She doesn't clear her throat. She simply rests her hands on either side of the podium and begins. "This company," she says, "was built on the promise of merit. But a promise means nothing when the system that enforces it is broken." The room quiets. Effective immediately. "We have zero tolerance for discriminatory conduct at any level. Not in hiring, not in promotions, not in the day-to-day interactions that shape the culture here. Those who cannot or will not meet that standard are no longer part of this organization." She lets the words hang, unsoftened. "For employees who have been denied fair opportunities, we will take immediate steps toward restitution. That means back pay where it is due. That means promotions long overdue. That means your work will be evaluated on merit, not on bias disguised as policy." A murmur ripples through the crowd. Pens scratch faster. And because change without transparency is just another cover-up, every step of this process will be public. Reports will be released quarterly. Salaries, promotions, disciplinary actions. Documented and accessible. Accountability will no longer be optional. Hands shoot up, but Ava isn't finished. This is not a public relations effort. This is not a moment for the cameras. This is a dismantling of a system that should never have existed here, and will not exist here again. A final flash from the back catches her eyes. She pauses just long enough for the point to settle. "Questions?" she said. The room erupts. Reporters shout over each other. Microphones thrust forward. Ava answers methodically, repeating key points, refusing to dilute the message. No hedging. No appeasement. By the time she steps away from the podium, she knows the words will travel far beyond these walls. And that's exactly the point. The first hit pieces appear within days. Sources close to the company claim Ava's measures are overreactions, that she's creating a climate of fear. Anonymous insiders tell reporters that good employees are being driven out over minor infractions. Online, the conversation splits in two. Supporters hail her as a reformer who's finally holding corporate power accountable. Critics accuse her of grandstanding, of turning personal slights into policy overhauls. Comments flood every article. She's doing what CEOs should have been doing for decades. This is cancel culture in the boardroom. Cable news panels argue over whether her changes will inspire other companies or simply scare them into token gestures. The words too extreme become the preferred talking point for her detractors. Eva reads none of it in full. She scans enough to understand the narrative being built against her, but she doesn't feed it. Her calendar remains full. Meetings with HR, legal teams, and newly promoted staff members, whose expressions carry something she values far more than approval ratings: trust. When a reporter shouts a question about the backlash as she leaves a meeting, Eva pauses only long enough to say, "Justice is not a popularity contest," before stepping into the elevator. Inside, alone, she exhales. The noise is just that, noise. The people trying to undermine her aren't fighting for fairness, they're fighting to preserve a comfort that was built on exclusion. Meanwhile, applications to the company triple. Advocacy groups publicly endorse her reforms. Former employees, long silent, begin sharing stories that echo the data she uncovered. The truth is out, and it's multiplying. She knows the backlash will keep coming. It always does when the ground shifts under entrenched feet. But Eva's focus hasn't changed. The work is bigger than the noise, and she intends to finish it. The groundswell. It begins with a handful of statements. Local advocacy groups releasing short press releases praising Eva's reforms. Then community leaders start speaking out at events, citing her name as proof that decisive leadership can uproot systemic bias. Within a week, a coalition of civil rights organizations hosts a live stream panel titled Accountability in the Workplace. The Eva Morgan Standard. The stream draws tens of thousands of viewers. Hashtags multiply across platforms, carrying calls for other companies to follow her lead. Former employees of her company, some who left years ago, come forward with their own stories. They confirm the patterns Eva exposed. Promotions denied without cause. Disciplinary records weaponized. Subtle but relentless barriers placed in front of certain people. Their accounts add human weight to the numbers she shared. Petitions emerge. One demands that state lawmakers pass a bill requiring pay transparency across all major employers. Another calls for mandatory bias audits in companies over a certain size. Both rack up signatures by the tens of thousands. Eva doesn't lead these efforts directly, but her presence is everywhere. Interviews replay her calm revelation in the boardroom. Opinion columns analyze her strategy, noting the absence of grandstanding and the precision of her language. Local news segments begin pairing her story with others. School boards, police departments, universities, asking whether the same kind of cultural audits could apply there. By the end of the month, a national magazine runs a cover story. The CEO who changed the rules. Inside, a full-page photo shows Eva mid-speech at her press conference. Hands resting on the podium, eyes steady. In cities across the country, workers are forwarding that article to their HR departments with a single line. "We need this here." What started in a polished lobby has become something much larger. A call that's no longer hers alone to answer. The groundswell has taken on a life of its own, and Eva knows this is how lasting change begins. Boardrooms in other companies are suddenly quieter, tenser. HR directors are combing through policies before anyone asks them to. Legal teams are drafting memos about risk exposure and proactive diversity initiatives. It isn't altruism, it's self-preservation. Eva's boardroom moment has become a cautionary tale, replayed in corporate seminars as a reminder of what happens when bias is left unchecked. Some CEOs order quiet reviews of pay scales and promotion histories, desperate to catch any glaring inequities before they're forced into the light. Others schedule diversity trainings not because they believe in them, but because they've seen the headlines Eva generated and fear the same. Still, even performative change shifts the ground a little. Workers notice when numbers start to move, when hiring panels look different, when HR suddenly has more teeth. Eva's name is now shorthand for a reckoning, and no one wants to be the next example. The meeting is held in a smaller conference room. No stage, no cameras. Just the remaining staff, managers, assistants, engineers, custodial workers, seated together in a wide circle. Eva stands at the center, sleeves rolled up, a notebook in hand. "I want to be clear," she begins, her tone steady but warm. "What happened here wasn't the fault of one person. It was the result of systems we all worked in, knowingly or not. We're going to rebuild those systems together." She outlines the changes plainly. First,
A company-wide training program, not a single seminar, but ongoing sessions designed to challenge bias and teach accountability. Second, an equitable pay adjustment, retroactive where necessary, to close every unjustified gap in salary. Heads lift at that. Third, a permanent open-door reporting channel, run by an independent body outside of HR, where any employee can safely raise concerns without fear of retaliation. These aren't suggestions, Ava says. They are the new rules of how we operate, and they will be enforced. She pauses, letting the room absorb it. This isn't about policies on paper. Change is a daily practice. It's in how you speak to the person across from you. It's in who you listen to and who you believe. And it's in what you refuse to tolerate, even in silence. There's no applause, just quiet nods. Some faces look relieved. Others, thoughtful. A few are still wary. But she expected that. When the meeting ends, people leave in small clusters, speaking softly to one another. Ava stays behind, collecting her notes, knowing the real work will be in what they do tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. Weeks pass. The frenzy of headlines fades. The building hums with its usual rhythm. But it feels different. On a cool Thursday morning, Ava walks through the front doors alone. No announcement, no entourage, just her, carrying a small leather folio. The same receptionist who once looked past her now looks up with a genuine smile. "Good morning, Miss Morgan." Ava returns the smile. "Good morning." The lobby smells faintly of lemon polish again. The floors gleam, but today they're just floors. No silent reminder of anything except a job well done by the people who maintain them. As she crosses the space, she notices the security guard from that first day. He nods once, eyes warmer now. She nods back. In the elevator, she rides up with a mix of employees. Different departments. Different roles. Conversation flows easily. No one asks her to step off so they can talk freely. When she steps onto her floor, the air is calm. Meetings are in session, ideas are being shared, and the subtle undercurrent that once separated people has thinned. Not gone entirely. Not yet, but thin. Ava takes her seat in her office, glances at the city skyline and exhales. Justice doesn't always announce itself with applause. Sometimes it's in the ordinary, being greeted by name, walking into a room without suspicion, knowing the ground under you is a little more solid than it was before. The shine here isn't just in the marble. It's in the people, and the space they now share more equally. And for Ava, that is victory enough. Months have passed, but the ripples from Ava's stand haven't slowed. They've reached Washington now. The congressional hearing room is formal, wood-paneled and lined with cameras. Lawmakers sit in a semicircle, papers stacked before them. Ava takes her seat at the witness table, a small nameplate in front of her. Ava Morgan, CEO. She adjusts the microphone. "Thank you for the opportunity to speak today," she begins. Her tone is even, measured, not rehearsed, but certain. She recounts the patterns she uncovered in her own company: inequitable pay, biased promotion practices, disciplinary actions that disproportionately targeted women of color. She doesn't tell the story for drama, she tells it for clarity, so the record will hold the truth. This isn't about one company, she says. It's about the structures that allow bias to hide behind procedure. You can't fix what you refuse to measure. And you can't measure without transparency. Lawmakers lean in as she outlines solutions. Mandatory public reporting of pay scales, independent oversight for discrimination claims, penalties for proven inequities. Each point is supported by data pulled from her audit. Evidence that bias isn't anecdotal. It's systemic. She doesn't linger on her own experience. Instead, she centers the employees whose stories mirrored the data, whose livelihoods were shaped by decisions they never saw being made. When she finishes, there's no grand applause, just a stillness, the kind that comes when the room knows it's been handed something it can't ignore. Weeks later, 2 bills inspired by her testimony are introduced in Congress. One on pay transparency, another on corporate accountability audits. The press waits outside the Capitol steps, cameras poised. Ava walks out into the crisp air, coat buttoned against the wind. Questions are shouted, flashes pop, but she doesn't stop. Her work speaks for itself. The afternoon light in Ava's home office is soft, filtered through gauzy curtains. The desk is tidy, just her laptop, a closed notebook and a single envelope resting in the center. It's handwritten,
addressed to her. The return address is familiar. The cleaning staff's office at her company headquarters. She opens it carefully. Inside is one page, the handwriting a little uneven, but deliberate. It reads, "Because of you, I stayed." No signature. No details. Just 6 words. Iva sets the page down, reading it again. Her mind drifts back to that first day. The glass-walled conference room. The manager's sharp voice. The woman's hands shaking as she clutched the spray bottle. She remembers the look they exchanged as the woman passed her in the hall. That silent question. That quiet plea. And now, this answer. There are no headlines here. No cameras. No public moment to frame. Just proof that change reached someone who needed it too. The room is still, except for the faint hum of the heater. Outside, a neighbor's dog barks once, then quiets. Ava lets the silence settle around her. She doesn't need applause. She doesn't need the world to see this moment. Some victories are loud. Others live quietly in the space between two people who once met in a moment of injustice, and later found themselves standing on different ground. She closes her eyes. The weight gone. Not every victory needs to be seen to matter.